Hello book lovers, and welcome back or welcome to Nakat's Bookish Cafe. Today I am here to start my 48-hour readathon vlog. Alright, so this is a readathon I'm just kind of doing by myself. I don't even feel like I should be calling it a readathon. Essentially, I have blocked out this weekend to go ahead and do as much reading as possible. So it is a little bit after 8 a.m. here on Saturday morning. I wanted this readathon to start at 8, but I had to get ready this morning and had a couple of things that I still needed to finish before I got this readathon started. But that being said, we are ready to go now, and it will go through 8 a.m. on Monday morning, which is when my work starts. So that's kind of how I decided to set this up, but I am super excited. The weather is gorgeous. I mean, like, the sun is like, raw. It's already pretty hot out here to be honest. So I think it's only supposed to get up into the 70s today, but that is still relatively warm. So hopefully we get some nice reading done outside. I also have some plans to do some live reading sprints later this afternoon. We'll see. I'm thinking about maybe 3 or 4 hours worth of reading sprints. I feel like the few times that I've been on live reading sprints, or honestly, I should say the one time I was on live reading sprints, I felt like I was reading a little bit slower just because I felt like people were perceiving me. And so I don't want to spend too much on live sprints because it might slow down the reading that I'm doing. But that being said, I just wanted to go ahead and start this vlog off and let you know kind of what I'm planning on reading. So I'm hoping to get 3 books done this weekend. I have gone ahead and pre-selected them because I heard that that helps with these kinds of readathons, so you're not sitting there kind of trying to figure out what you want to read. I decided I wanted to complete 1 audiobook, 1 Kindle book, and 1 physical book. So as far as the Kindle book goes, we are going to be reading Outdrawn by Deanna Gray. So this is a Sapphic contemporary romance, and I'll talk more about that when I get started on it. Audiobook wise, I will be reading How You Get the Girl by Anita Kelly. That's the author's name, right? And this is a book by an author that I have already read, and honestly I think I only have like 3 or 4 days until the audiobook is due, so I definitely need to go ahead and get on that this weekend. And that is also a Sapphic romance. And then the final one is not a Sapphic romance, sorry. It's not even queer, but it is The Sweetest Remedy by Jane Igaro. This is the book that I'm going to be starting off with. This is a book that's on my 5-star prediction list, and I've been wanting to read it for quite a while, and I figured it would be a good one for this challenge just because it is relatively short and the text is big because it's a book of the month book, so it should be a relatively quick read. It's also a contemporary romance, maybe slightly literary fiction just based off some of the themes that are in here, but I think it is romance leaning. In this book, we are following a woman who has been informed that her father has passed away, and she has never met him or his side of the family, but she decides to go ahead and attend his funeral to kind of discover more about where she came from her father's side. And there she meets her family as well as this man here, and they start to form a relationship. So I'm hoping that it gives me some complex explorations of grief revolving around a father who was not really present, but at the same time is still your father. And so, you know, you still have complex feelings about that. And also just learning about a new culture, learning about a new side of you, learning about new family members, and hopefully getting along with them and them kind of like accepting you into the family and all that. And then of course a very sweet romance with a very handsome man. So this cover, I always love it, especially out here in the sunshine. It's such a great vibe. So I'm gonna go ahead and jump right into that, and we will see how far we get. I will say I'm not the fastest reader, which is why I only have 3 books on this list, but fingers crossed I do get through all 3 of these, and that it's a successful 48-hour readathon. so it is 10:14 and I am, let me double check, I should have checked before I started holding this camera with one hand. 63 pages into The Sweetest Remedy. I have been reading for most of the morning, other than taking a quick break to do some, or to eat breakfast, I guess. And I listened to the first chapter of How to Get the Girl while eating breakfast, but that was only 13 minutes, so I have literally nothing to say about that book other than it's a contemporary romance, and we are following a coach of a high school basketball team. And this is the third book in a companion series. I read the first one, Love and Other Disasters. I haven't read the second one yet. I do have it on my TBR, but I didn't realize they were all related, so I didn't know I was reading them out of order, but that's fine. So that being said, we are following this coach, and one of the new members of her basketball team is being fostered by a woman who was, I guess, a very popular professional basketball player who has since retired. I want to say it was because of an injury. I think that's what the synopsis said, but I can't really remember. But our coach has been kind of coaching this team alone because no one has applied for the assistant coaching position. And it seems like she is going to go ahead and ask this woman to take on that position to help her bring the team to championships this year. And obviously, as they spend some time together, romance develops between the two of them. So I just read the first chapter of that, so literally don't know anything else beyond the synopsis. But as far as The Sweetest Remedy goes, I am enjoying the story. I definitely think there's going to be a little bit of drama. So it seems that what happened is that our character Hannah, her mother fell in love with a man who was staying at the hotel that she was working at. She was working as a waitress in the hotel while she was getting her teacher's degree, and they kind of formed a romance. But when she informed him that she had become pregnant, he told her that he had to go back to Nigeria to his wife. So he has been sending the family money, and it seems that our character met him one time when she was 8 years old, but other than that, he was not present in her life at all. And she receives notice that he has passed away and has asked that she comes to the funeral to meet her half siblings, where she has 3 sisters and 1 brother. And Lawrence, our other character, I want to say his name was Lawrence. He actually met Hannah in San Francisco, where she meets, and they kind of had like a moment, but it got interrupted by him being informed that her father had passed away, because Lawrence is the son of a woman who was a maid for the family, but when he was 10 years old, his mother passed away unexpectedly from a brain aneurysm, and her father actually kind of, in a way, adopted him. I don't think it was like a legal adoption or anything, but he kind of took him in so he wouldn't have to go to an orphanage, and he very much sees her father as a father figure. And obviously the two of them were very surprised to be reacquainted when she shows up at this house, at her father's house, and they're like, "What are you doing here?" And she's like, "Oh my God, please tell me this guy's like not one of my half brothers," which he's not or anything. But she also has some complex feelings about the fact that her father took this boy in and raised him, and loved him and was part of his life and everything, and he didn't do the same for her, his daughter. So she's feeling a lot of complex feelings. Over the years, she's kind of tried to put away her hope and dreams of a relationship that she would have with her father, that she spent a lot of her childhood having. And obviously him dying has kind of made it so that will never be a possibility, but she is still kind of hopeful, I think, to have a relationship with the family. But we will see how that works, because they didn't know about her. Like, she showed up there and she was like, "Yeah, so like, what should I expect? Like, how do they feel about me?" And the butler, or the assistant, or whatever he is, was kind of like, "I haven't really told them about you yet. They don't know." Like, no one knew. None of the siblings, not the grandma, not the wife. And I was like, that's gonna be really messy. Like, no one wants to be like, "Hey, here's the half daughter that was made from your husband." cheating on you years ago. So yeah, welcome, she's here. So we will see what happens. She just kind of got settled into the house. Everyone was kind of like in shock. It seems like we get multiple points of view. Like we have Hannah's point of view, Lawrence's point of view, but every once in a while we also get some of the siblings or other family members' points of view as well. So it'll give us a more well-rounded story, I think, because I think a lot of people are going to have a lot of complex feelings about what's going on. So I am glad that we get all those different points of view. I will say that I don't want to say it's like insta lovey, but there is definitely an insta connection between our two characters, and our character is really relieved that he's there, that there's a familiar face for her to be there. So I think she's really gonna lean on him during this situation, and he is the best friend of her father's oldest daughter. So I think he's definitely going to find himself pulled between this family and this girl that he clearly, or this woman that he had an instant connection with. And, you know, that might cause a little bit of strain between him and the family, depending on how they end up feeling about her. But other than that, I think the writing is relatively simplistic, which makes me a little bit nervous, because sometimes when it comes to emotional reads, I just feel like I want the words to have a bit more weight to them. I don't know if that makes any sense, but sometimes when things are written relatively straightforward, it just doesn't have as much of an emotional impact. But other than that, having a good time. It's a relatively quick read. I do wish I was a little bit further along in the story, considering I have read for 2 45-minute sprints so far. I would have liked to be closer to the 80-page mark, but you know me, I get distracted while reading and my eyes kind of wander and my mind wanders a little bit, so I'm doing my very best. But I think so far we have made some good progress. I will do a little bit more reading before I go ahead and jump on sprints, which are in less than an hour, and we will see how much reading I get done during those. Alright guys, so reading sprints are done, and I had some lunch with my family. I have no idea what time it is. It's definitely after 1 o'clock though, but I am over, or just about at 50% of the book, page 163. So we made some good progress. I am continuing to enjoy the story, really enjoying the family drama. I'm also really enjoying the sibling dynamics that are starting to develop or coming to light as we learn more about our characters and the family that she is trying to become a part of. There are definitely some that are very accepting of her being there. There are others that are very much holding on to their anger, and she is doing what she can to stand up to them, because she's like, yeah, you don't you shouldn't be mad at me, okay? The romance is definitely starting to heat up a little bit, and I am enjoying that. It is definitely a relatively fast-paced romance. Like in the book, it's not like it feels overly fast, but considering the fact that these two have only known each other for like 3 or so days, and the fact she's only going to be there for about a week, this is definitely going to be a fast developing romance. So if you're not into that, this might not be your cup of tea. But everything that's happening on the side, I'm really enjoying, and I'm looking forward to continuing the story. I'm gonna do some reading, and then my dad is off getting bark right now, like bark for the yard. Then my mom and I are gonna see if he wants to join us to visit the new cat cafe, because Olympia has a new cat cafe. So we're gonna check that out. I know today I'm supposed to do nothing but reading, but it's a cat cafe, okay? I gotta make an exception for it. So we're gonna head down there. I'm gonna pick up a book that's available for me at the library, and then we're gonna hang out there, probably have a coffee or so, and then we'll head back home most likely, and I will go ahead and continue with my reading. And I probably won't check in with you until I finish this book, which will hopefully, fingers crossed, be tonight. So I will talk to you guys later.
Falling to pieces in my room. Are you coming over? That's cool. I could use a little something to do. We could go outside, take a little ride if you want to. That's cool. I did what I was supposed to. There's nothing left for me to do. So now I'm poking out my head through open windows, 'cause that's what I feel like. Want me to say something? I come up with nothing. Maybe we can talk until we figure out a topic. Been so long in my head, caught up in my feelings. I've been waiting for something new to happen. You want me to say something? I come up with nothing. Maybe we should talk until we figure out a topic. Been so long without it, caught up in my feelings.
Alright guys, we did it. We finished The Sweetest Remedy. It was a little after 10. I was definitely hoping to finish this book earlier in the day, but we ended up being out of the house for like 2 to 3 hours. So we ended up going to the cat cafe, which was really cute. So we got to see the cats. The way that the cat cafe is set up is there's the cafe section, and then you have to make a reservation to go into the cat section, and we didn't do that, but there was like a lot of window space, so we just sat next to the windows and were able to look in at the kittens, which you probably saw because I took some videos. I'm not sure how many of the videos I will include because initially there were some kids in there and I don't want to accidentally post anything with anyone's kids in it, so we will see how many of those videos make it into this vlog. But after that we went to the co-op, and then we went to QFC, and we also went to the library because I had a book to pick up. But yeah, no, we were out and about, and it was a good time to hang out with my mom, and she just recently got a new car, so this was my first time driving in it, and it's relatively comfortable. It's a German car, so they're not like as comfy as American cars, but it drives really well. I want to say it's an Audi, but I don't know cars. It's the one with the 4 rings attached to it. and it's about 4 years old. It is a used car because I guess Germans only buy used cars. She's like, Germans are like, why would you buy a new car? But honestly, with the cost of cars, like, why would you? Anyway, yeah, other than that, I spent some time with my family out on the patio. I did some reading while I was out there, but obviously I was just reading a few pages and then I was kind of like chit-chatting with them. So this definitely went a little bit slower than expected, but that is totally fine. I had a good time with this story. I think that I'm gonna go ahead and give it a solid 4 stars. Actually not a 5-star like I thought it would be, but I did really enjoy the story. I really enjoyed watching her build those relationships with her siblings as well as with Lawrence. And I really enjoyed her growing as a person and overcoming a lot of insecurities that she had developed over the years because her father wasn't a part of her life, and her kind of wondering why and if she was just not good enough and what it was about her that made him stay away, and her kind of just realizing how to love herself and allow other people to love her as well. So that was really fun to watch, really heartwarming. I really enjoyed the sibling dynamics. I thought that they were really heartwarming, but also humorous at times. This book made me laugh a couple times. And I just thought that the relationship was really romantic and really sweet. This book didn't really have any smutty moments. There was one moment that was like just bare, like you knew they were having sex kind of situation. And it wasn't like a full fade to black, but it was like not detailed like at all. So if you're someone who enjoys books that don't have like a lot of smut in them, then this one is a good option. But I do really think those family relationships and her character's personal growth are a bigger part than the relationship. Her relationship with Lawrence was just another tool for her to kind of grow into the person who loves herself. So had a good time with the story. I'm really glad that I was able to binge read it in one day. And I'm gonna go ahead and head to bed now because it is a little after 10 and I don't want to sleep in too much tomorrow because tomorrow I need to see if I can finish my other 2 books because I only listened to those like first 13 minutes of the audiobook, and I think the audiobook is like 11 hours long, so not super optimistic about that. And then the next physical book that I would be reading is Outdrawn, and I want to say that book is a little over 300 pages, but it's on Kindle, so we'll see. Sometimes reading books on Kindle is a little quicker, and this is a contemporary sapphic romance between 2 women who they draw comics, so comic creators, I guess, and or comic artists. I'm not sure what they would be called, but they seem to have been rivals in college, and now both of them have been offered the opportunity to help create a black comic that is supposed to just blow up and take their careers to the next level, and they kind of have to learn to work together, and obviously as they do that they fall in love kind of situation. So it's like a rivals to lovers situation, and I'm really looking forward to that. So tomorrow morning hopefully I will go ahead and get reading as soon as possible, get the ball rolling. And tomorrow, other than planning what I need to cook for dinner and potentially having to do some grocery shopping, there's nothing else that I should have to do. So hopefully I really can focus just on reading, which I didn't do today. But like I said, cat cafe. It was worth it. It was worth it. So I will go ahead and check in with you guys tomorrow once I've gotten a little bit further into how you win the girl, how you get the girl is the name, and as well as my initial thoughts for Outdrawn. All right, hey guys, so I am sitting here on the floor for the natural lighting, but it is about to turn 11 o'clock here on Sunday, and I have been doing some reading this morning. I did sleep in a little bit this morning. I slept until 9, and then I scrolled through Instagram a little bit and got ready for the day, and I started Outdrawn, and I am a little under 50 pages through that. I'm about 13% through that book. I'm not optimistic about finishing it today because Kindle says I still have like over 7 hours of reading to do for that, and I just don't see myself doing 7 hours of reading. No, I'm just not the kind of person who can do that much reading in one day. I do get a little bit tired of reading if I do it too often. I mean, even today, I feel a little bit burned out since I did so much reading yesterday. And honestly, I mean, there was a few hours yesterday where I didn't do any reading because I went out. So I'm not a binge reader, I guess. You know, I can't sit here and read for hours and hours on time. But that being said, we're still going to try. We're going to see what we can do. My initial thoughts on Outdrawn, it is a multi-POV. We are following Noah and Sage. And they were in college together, and Noah seems to think that they were kind of like rivals the whole time, and Sage seems to think that Noah was really nice to everyone but her. So I think maybe Noah let her insecurities, because she's really insecure, kind of caused her to be cold towards Sage, which kind of caused this rivalry between the two of them. And she probably thought Sage started the rivalry by thinking that she's better than Noah, but it kind of seems that Noah's insecurities got in the way. At least that's the vibe that I'm getting right now. So essentially, there is this comic company that wants to bring a comic from like the 90s back that kind of flopped, but they want to go ahead and bring that back, kind of reboot it, refresh it. And Sage has been working at this company since they got out of college for the last 7 years, and Noah has recently been brought on to help with this as a co-lead artist on it, because the company really wants to get a lot of volumes out. They want to do like 2 volumes a week instead of 1. So they're like, we need more than one artist to be working on this. And Noah has definitely been keeping tabs on Sage. They both post to, I forget what it's called, but it's kind of like webtoons where, you know, you post web comics and people vote and they have like rankings and stuff. And Sage's comic has been the very top for like a really long time, and Noah recently has gotten into the top rankings as well, and that was kind of what got her the opportunity to work for this comic company. And so they are finally in the same space again, and they seem to be falling into those same habits of really having snarky comments towards each other. And Sage is not really happy that they are bringing on someone else to help her, because she's like, I've been here for 7 years. I've been proving myself to you guys for 7 years, and you guys are kind of making me feel like you think I can't do this. So she's kind of taking it as a slight against her capabilities for them to bring on another artist. And so obviously she's not happy about this situation, having any artist help her. And Noah's very much taking it as Sage not being happy that she specifically is the artist. And Sage isn't really happy that Noah is there. It seems that Noah has always kind of been like really nice to everyone but her, and always criticizes Sage. Like, that's the only way that Noah ever communicated with her. So obviously she's not really happy to have someone there who's kind of a hater. But at the same time, it's really clear that both of them are kind of aware of the other. Sage seems to like want to keep her distance because she seems to be attracted to Noah, but she doesn't really want to lean into that attraction. So that's one of the reasons she's been kind of avoiding her all these years. And Noah very much finds that Sage is someone she's very jealous of, someone who makes her feel like insecure about herself, someone who she very much looks up to, but not in a very like healthy way, but more as a way for her to look down on herself. And so her relationship with Sage is very much rooted in her own insecurities. But at the same time, she is someone who acknowledges that Sage is very talented, she's very intelligent, she's very beautiful. So you can definitely tell that the two of them have some complicated feelings about each other. So there is that. They have a small team that they're working with on this comic. It looks like it's going to be some interesting characters. I will say two of the other side characters, I don't know. It kind of seems like they might be either in a secret relationship or one of them has a crush on the other one. So those are two side male characters that are present there, which I'm intrigued to see kind of what comes from that. And then there's another female character who definitely seems to be the comedic relief of the story for sure. And she also has a prosthetic leg, so there's some disability representation in there. And I would definitely say that Noah has an anxiety disorder, so there's definitely anxiety representation in here as well. So far I am enjoying it. I will say one mistake I kind of made with my TBR for this readathon is a lot of times people say choose different genres, you know, when you're doing a readathon like this. Otherwise it just becomes too repetitive, and all the books that I'm reading are contemporary romances. That was a mistake on my part, because there's definitely a part of me that is like, I don't really want to be reading contemporary romance right now, because that's what I spent all of yesterday reading. But oh well, I will go ahead and read these because I am enjoying them. As far as How to Get the Girl, How to Win the Girl, How to Get the Girl, I forget what the title is. I am, I think, 13% through that. I've read the first or listened to the first couple of chapters at this point, and no, I don't remember the characters' names. I want to say one of them is like Julie or Julia, and she is the coach of the basketball team, and she is actually the twin sister of London, who is the character from the first book in this series. The one I read, I never read the second book, so I don't know anything about her brother, somehow related to one of the characters of the second book. But that being said, she is the twin sister of London, who was a non-binary character in Love and Other Disasters, a book I really enjoyed. And she was a huge fan of this other woman's career. She was like, she had like a teenage crush on her. So I'm wondering if there's a bit of an age gap. I have to admit, I'm not sure how old either of them are, but considering she had a teenage crush on this girl, I'm assuming she was probably a teenager when the other woman was maybe like in her early 20s, seeing as professional sports players are usually kind of retiring at a young age due to injury and whatnot. But it seems that this basketball player is suffering from chronic migraines, and she's also kind of stayed away from basketball since she suffered from a career-ending injury. She like hasn't been playing basketball for like the last 8 years or so, and she's kind of nervous about being back on the basketball court, even if it's just to pick up her foster daughter from basketball practice. And so their first interaction was a little bit weird and a little uncomfortable, because our coach was like fangirling over her and everything, like, oh my gosh, you know, I can't believe it's you, you know, I thought you were such a great player and everything. Ball player, I'll have to remember their name so I can talk about it a little bit easier, had like a migraine coming on, and the bright lights of the gym were like making it really hard for her to like stay present in the conversation, and she was having a lot of trouble kind of interacting with the conversation that was talking about a past that is kind of painful for her, because, you know, she lost a lot after that injury. So their first interaction was just kind of made her come off as rude, and our coach kind of went to their sibling and was kind of like, I don't really know what to do, you know, I feel like I kind of made a fool of myself, and the way that she interacted with me or responded to me was kind of, I don't want to say rude, but it was a little bit off-putting. And her sibling and her sibling's partner were kind of like, hey, you know, you should maybe interact with her a little bit more and maybe not just come on as strong, not as fangirly, and maybe see if she is a jerk or not. And if you find out she's not a jerk, maybe you can ask her to be the assistant coach, because it would be a really great opportunity for the kids, and it'll allow you to work with someone that you really idolized when you were younger, and a lot of people don't have that opportunity, so it'd be a really great opportunity for you. And she's kind of like, okay, I don't know if I should ask someone like that amazing to just help be my coach for a high school basketball team. Like, as you might think I'm being kind of ridiculous, but it just seems like our coach character has some insecurities about where she is in her life right now, because her other siblings have just been doing a lot with their life recently through their books. And so she's just kind of wondering if maybe she's not doing as well as her siblings, and so is just feeling insecure about where she is, while at the same time obviously loving her job and the kids that she's working with. So that's where I am at that book. Not super far along or anything like that, but I definitely think that we're gonna see a lot of people kind of come into themselves, not just our main characters kind of finding their relationship, finding love for basketball and what they're doing with their careers and their passion, but also with this girl that our basketball player is fostering, who I believe is her cousin, and it seems that her mother is not in the picture right now, possibly at rehab. It seems like there was some drug addiction that was involved, so obviously she's in a hard place. It's hard enough to be a teenager without being a foster kid because your mom is a drug addict. So I have a feeling that we're gonna see not only our coach and basketball player bond with each other, but also this coach kind of really reaching out and bringing this girl out of her shell, as well as having our basketball player interacting with this foster child as well, and just helping her get through this difficult part of her life. So that was a very long update. Been sitting here for over 10 minutes talking, but I'm gonna go ahead and get changed and head out before the day gets too hot, and walk around downtown a little bit, enjoy the water. I think it's kind of my go-to place to walk, so that will mean more progress on my audiobook. And depending on how the temperature is, it is kind of breezy, so I'm not sure if it'll be kind of cool down there, but I might also bring my Kindle along with me and maybe do some reading downtown as well. So I will check in with you guys later today.
If I could tell you, I don't think you'd believe how long I felt this way. I'm begging you to stay. And if I could show you, I'd hope that you could see all the possibilities. There could be a place for you and me. Under the stars, you pack up your car, 'cause you're going far away from here. I wish I could stall, but I never call, and you're going all the way this year. If I could tell you, I don't think you'd believe.
All right, guys, so I am back from my walk, and I got 40% through my audiobook. I didn't end up doing any reading down there because I was starving. So I picked up some Vic's pizza for me and my dad, and it is really windy out right now, but I'm always worried that this umbrella is gonna like come crashing down on me. Anyway, but yes, I got 40% through the book, and I've had my pizza, so I'm about to sit down and do some physical reading and whatnot. I would say I'm really enjoying the book, which isn't surprising considering I've really enjoyed this author in the past. I definitely know that I'm going to be reading the second book in this companion series that I kind of skipped over. But I guess a good thing about companion romances, they don't spoil anything. You're like, yeah, obviously they ended up together. But I'm really enjoying the humor in the story. It's just making me laugh. It's making me kick my feet. I think that the characters are really funny, really sweet, really complex. They're having a lot of feelings. Both of them are definitely going through a lot right now and kind of uncertain about where they're wanting to go. We have Elle, who is the ex-pro basketball player, and we have Julie, who is the basketball coach. And Elle has now started taking on the position of assistant coach on the team. So this is her first time having anything to do with basketball in like 8 years. Like she hasn't even touched a basketball since her injury. And it seems like Julie doesn't really know that Elle has such a complicated relationship with basketball. She knows that Elle kind of told her like, hey, I don't really like to talk about my basketball past, and right now she's respecting that, which is good because Elle put up a boundary. But she's definitely really curious about it, and like, you know, like what happened, like why is she so reluctant to talk about her past, because I think she had like an LC tear. I don't know medical or sports terminology, but she was kind of like, this was an injury she could have come back from, so it wasn't like a career ending injury. So it's interesting to see if she kind of used this injury as an excuse to leave basketball, or if maybe the injury was worse than she let people know. I don't know yet, but the two of them have started kind of texting a lot, and Julie has been there for Elle to kind of help her with what's her name? It's like Violet or Victoria, something with a V. Her foster daughter, just because she knows that that's really hard for someone to suddenly have a teenager thrown into their lives. And she's just been really understanding and kind of helping Elle kind of walk through what her foster kid may need or want. And on the other hand, Elle has really been there for Julie as well, not just on the court, but off the court as well. Like there was a time where her cat got sick and Elle helped her take the cat to the emergency vet and was just like really supportive and everything, as she's like freaking out about her cat and everything. Because right now her cat is like the only person in her life. This is like a person, or not a person, it's a cat, but you know, this creature is the one thing that lives with her, and you really uses this cat, what is the cat's name? It's something like Snoogles or something, and she really uses Snoogles as like an emotional support animal. Like anytime she's stressed, she'll like do Snoogle breathing where she'll like smell her cat, and I'm like, honestly, like I relate to that as a crazy cat mom. And I also really relate to Julie just when it comes to her experience or lack of experience with relationships, and not really being able to figure out like her sexuality, not really having a label for it, and feeling like everyone else has figured it out. She's like, my friend is gay, Elle is a lesbian, my twin is non-binary, you know, and she's like, I don't know what I am. I don't know if I'm bi. I don't know if I'm a lesbian. I've never been in a relationship. Am I asexual? I really don't know. I feel like I haven't had the experiences to be able to tell me what I am, because you can't just be like, oh yeah, that's what I am, without having been in relationships to kind of like solidify that label. And that's something she's like really kind of struggling with. And people are like, well, you know, you don't have to know what you are, you don't have to put labels on it or anything like that. And that's something that I struggle with, because I've never been in a relationship before. So when I say, yeah, I'm asexual, or have I just been chronically single my whole life? I don't know. You know, and just to not feel secure in being queer? Like, am I queer, or have I just not dated anyone, or like what is going on here? And I just feel like so many of the thoughts she's having are thoughts that I myself have had. So find her incredibly relatable. On the other hand, she is very much someone who loves to support those around her, and as those around her have started to kind of find their own partners, their own romantic partners, they haven't come to her as much, and so she feels like she's missing that a little bit. And now being able to help Elle with this whole foster care situation, I think is really filling that hole for her. But at the same time, Elle being there for her as well is showing her that that can be reciprocated to her, because often it seems like she's very much someone who solves her own problems and doesn't want to ask for help while also happily giving help. But Elle is kind of giving her what she needs without her really having to ask for it, and not making her feel like a burden. So really enjoying their relationship, really enjoying learning more about these characters. Do I care about basketball? Not even a little bit. But it's not a huge part of the story, I would say. I mean, it's always present, but it's not like the author is describing gameplays or anything like that. So happy about that. And yes, I'm gonna go ahead and continue with my physical read, and I will check in with you later. All right, guys, so it is later in the afternoon. I always forget to check what time it is. I think it's almost 4 o'clock, and I am officially 25% through my book. In other words, there's no way on this God's green earth that I am finishing this book today. For some reason, it is a relatively slow read. I don't know if I'm just kind of burning out on reading or what, but we are going slow and steady. For the most part, I'm enjoying the book. I definitely don't think it's going to get over a 4-star. Right now, it's kind of giving 3.5-star vibes, where it's like decent, but nothing crazy or anything where I'm like overly in love with the characters or anything. Not that I dislike them or even am indifferent towards them, I just don't like love them. So it seems like right now, not only competing at work, our two characters both used to post towards this webtoons page. It has a different name in the book, and the page has kind of created a competition where they have wiped all their data. They saved the art, so it's not like they deleted years worth of people's art or anything, but they kind of wiped everything and said, we're clean slate, competition. Okay, every week for the next, what was it, like next 24 weeks or something, next 12 weeks, I don't know. They are going to go ahead and have artist posts, and then at the end of that week they will get rid of the bottom 10%, and whoever wins it can get $25,000. They can go ahead and get a 3-book deal that covers the posts that they made for the competition. So essentially the comic they create for the competition would be printed, and they get to meet with the creators of this website, which could potentially lead to a movie deal as well. So essentially this is huge, and both Sage and Noah are obviously going to go ahead and go for it. Now, Noah's family, I don't want to say that they're rich, but they're definitely well off. It seems that her dad is some sort of scientist or something. Her mom, want to say was like a horticulturist, I want to say was the word. And I can't remember what sort of biology-esque thing her dad did. But anyway, they're well off. Her older sister went into science as well. Kind of biology in terms of plagues, I think. And her sister seems to kind of look down on her for choosing an art career. And while her parents are super supportive and like having an artist in the family, they still fully expect to have to like financially support her. So like while they're happy she chose this career path, they always this bird is like has a really high-pitched little tweet going on. It's kind of annoying. A little squeaky. But yeah, essentially she feels like her parents don't think that she can really make a profitable career out of the work that she is doing, because they're like, oh yeah, we're super happy that you're doing this, but like, can you financially support yourself off of this career? Probably not, but we're more than happy to support you. And she's like, yeah, you should feel like I can do enough in this profession to be able to support myself. Sage, on the other hand, it seems she comes from a bit of a messier family. It seems her mother was in an accident years ago, which causes her chronic pain, and she has trouble walking. She's kind of trying to learn to walk and be independent again. Right now, her other family members kind of have to be with her like 24/7 in case she like falls or anything like that. And her father's a recovering alcoholic. It seems like he just got his 4-year chip. So they were always relatively poor, you know, like couldn't afford food all the time, had to live in motels. And she has 2 brothers, both who are not really good with money, and she has kind of taken it on herself to financially support her family. And sometimes it seems her family kind of takes advantage of that, especially her brothers, because she kind of, which I feel like is so dumb, like I feel like you shouldn't do this, and I think she kind of regrets doing it, kind of created like a joint account that they could pull from for emergencies, and she's the one who mostly contributes to it, but it seems that her brothers sometimes pull from it when it's not really an emergency. So that causes her some stress. But that being said, one thing Noah always struggles with is the fact that she feels that Sage is always doing more. She's working longer hours, she's producing more, she's doing more work, she's taking on more responsibility, and she kind of thinks that it's because Sage is just trying to prove that she's the best, and because she's just such a talented artist that she can just whip out all this work so quickly, so easily, that she's like, yeah, no problem, I can do more and more and more because it's just so easy for me and I'm just so amazing. But really, I would say it's because she is trying to take on more work so that she can financially support her family, because the more work she does, the more she gets paid. So it's clear that Noah doesn't really truly understand Sage's motives for why she works as hard as she does. And hopefully, as they get to know each other a little bit more, they'll kind of understand each other's behaviors. It definitely seems like Sage is wanting to get Noah to be a little bit more confident in the work that she does, because she's like, you got hired here, you know, your comics made it into the top 10 of the rankings on this website out of hundreds, if not thousands, of postings. Like, you should not have this low of self-esteem. And Sage is kind of telling herself that she's getting to know Noah more because she wants to learn her weaknesses, so it's easier for her to outdraw her per the title of the book. But it's very clear the more time she spends with Noah, the more attracted she is to her. And Noah very much knows what Sage is doing, so she's like, oh yeah, she's just trying to get close so that she can get my weaknesses, and she's not at all even considering the fact that Sage may actually be growing slightly interested in her because she's so focused on Sage being the enemy. So good stuff is happening, enjoying it, not loving it, which is a bit of a shame considering I'm kind of slowing down with this readathon a little bit, but we will continue on our way and we will get as far as we can. We still have tonight. My parents are planning on going out to dinner tonight because they're like, oh, we didn't want you to worry about cooking and everything since you are doing this readathon and whatnot. So shout out to my parents for being supportive. So I'll just be eating the leftovers from last night, and they'll be going out and enjoying a date night. And then obviously I have tomorrow morning. Not that I'm thinking I'll have more than like an hour of reading tops tomorrow morning, since I always have trouble getting out of bed on a Monday morning, but who doesn't? But yeah, that is my update for now, and I will go ahead and I think I'm gonna get out of the sun because now that the breeze is gone, it's getting a little toasty out here, and see how far I can get into this book. All right, guys, so I am 46% through How to Get the Girl. I was listening to it a little bit while I was playing a little bit of is it Candy Crush? I think that's what I'm playing. I should know what game I'm playing, but I'm pretty sure it's Candy Crush. And so I'm 46% through that book, so I'm not too much further along since last time I updated you on it, but there was this chapter that just made me relate so much to Julie. Like, I feel like, honestly, some of the things she's saying, it's like she's speaking to my soul. And it is always so weird and a little alarming to have a character that you just relate to such a detailed level, because it really kind of solidifies that you're not the only one going through what you're going through, because sometimes you just feel like you are, you know. If you're the only one in like your social group that's going through it, it's kind of hard to be like, oh yeah, this is something that other people go through, and maybe even somewhat commonly. So she is someone who I think I've already mentioned is kind of trying to figure out like what her sexuality is. She's like, am I bisexual? Am I lesbian? Am I ace? She has never really had an experience dating. She only had one kiss, and it was not really a good experience. She was kind of talking about like, hey, this is an experience that most people probably have, you know, throughout college or high school or even beyond, probably totally normal, but she has never had another experience to kind of push that other experience aside. So this is like her one experience with trying to have a romantic relationship. And I have had the same experience. I've never dated. I've never really went out seeking a partner, to be honest. And in college, I had someone that I was hanging out with for a few days, and it ended up being a somewhat traumatic experience for me, because it was very much someone who was trying to pressure me to do things that I don't want to do. Luckily, I was very stubborn in not wanting to do that, but that doesn't mean I feel any less shame or even embarrassment about what happened. And, you know, never having dated anyone else or having any positive dating experiences sometimes leaves me asking, do I not want to date because I don't want to date? I just don't want to? Or is it because the only experience that I've had with dating is such a negative experience? And that's kind of like what she is going through, where she's like, well, I don't know what to expect from dating because the one time I tried something, it left me feeling really embarrassed, like I was kind of dumb. And, you know, a lot of people kind of started their dating experiences when they were like in elementary school even, or middle school, you know, kind of ages 12 and stuff. And I remember being in middle school and starting to see like my friends and stuff start dating and not doing that. And now at the age of 28, I can identify with her as feeling behind. Like I missed something, like, oh, you know, people have been dating for years and now they're starting to hook up and get married and all that, and I'm sitting here having one bad experience of having been kissed. And what does that mean? Am I happy with that? I mean, sometimes I feel like I am, and other times I feel like, yeah, I think I would like a partner. And then you kind of question like, well, it's very hard for me to kind of pinpoint my sexuality because you've never tested your sexuality. Like, am I asexual? All right, am I aromantic? Am I demisexual, gray sexual? Am I bisexual? Am I straight? I do not know, you know? And so you feel very uncertain, like in who you are and who you should be pursuing and what kind of relationships you want and what kind of person you would even want to be in a relationship with, because you've just never experienced that. And that's like what she is talking about. And I'm like, word for word, I have had these thoughts. Like, I'm not even joking. When you're reading this character and she's talking about that, you are reading about me. Let me tell you. And on the one hand, it is kind of reassuring to know that there's other people out there who feel this way, especially a woman who's in a romance book and, you know, she'll get her happily ever after and she'll find her person and all that jazz. And also she's someone who is a bit insecure. Like, she never knows that people like her. I mean, she knows like people like her, but she never knows that people like her. She was very surprised when she found out that someone had a crush on her. She was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And she doesn't kind of realize what a funny and beautiful person she is. And I'm not saying that I'm a funny, beautiful person and I just don't realize it. Like, I mean, I realize that I'm a semi-attractive person, and I'd like to think I'm relatively funny once I warm up to you a little bit. But at the same time, I would confidently say I can count on one hand how many people have ever been slightly interested in dating me. And I also acknowledge that most people would disagree with that. They'd be like, I think the number is higher, but I don't know if it is, you know? My mom is always saying like, Natalie, you need to pay attention. That guy was just looking at you while you were walking down the street and you didn't even give him a second look. And I was like, what guy? Like, I have complete blinders on when it comes to people's interest in me, and in a way that makes me feel like no one's interested in me. Like, I genuinely feel like I'm someone who people would not want to have a relationship with. And this book is just getting me in my feels a little bit, because I'm like, listen, this isn't a therapy session. I don't need you to be attacking me like this by having a character who's just voicing all of my fears and insecurities. But that is what happens. I think I'm going to listen a bit more to the audiobook because it's due in a couple days. So I really want to go ahead and prioritize it over my physical read, even though that means I'm not really going to finish this physical read. But I still have like 3 hours of this audiobook left. And when I say 3 hours, I mean like 3 hours of listening time on 2 times speed. So like 6 hours of the audiobook left. But yes, we just got a little bit personal there, guys. Learned a little bit about me and my lack of a dating history, but but you know, sometimes these books really look into your soul, and when it catches you unaware like that, you're like, oh, whoa, I was going in this for a fun little romance, but instead, here I am, having to take a good close look at myself. Maybe I'll have to bring this up with my therapist on Wednesday. Guys, so it is 10 o'clock on Monday. Obviously my readathon ended at 8, but that is when my work started, so I'm here to wrap up this vlog on my first break of the day. So this morning I ended up reading the last 30 minutes of How to Get the Girl, which I feel like I keep saying that name wrong, but I have a picture of it so you can just see it there. And I think I'm going to go ahead and give it 4 stars. I had a good time with this story. It made me laugh a few times. I really related to the character Julie, as I kind of talked about. So I really enjoyed her character throughout this story. I feel like I didn't connect to or fall in love with Elle as much as I did London, and I feel like that was more obvious during the sex scene, because the sex scene I feel like didn't work for me that much, and I don't know if it was because Elle was using the word baby, which is kind of like a hit and miss kind of thing, but I was kind of like, thank God there's only one sex scene, because I'm not loving this. Now I will say that Julie was obviously a virgin during the sex scene, and she was feeling a bit of lack of confidence in what she was doing and whatnot, so it may have come off as a little bit awkward as she was kind of fumbling through that first experience, which is realistic but still not the funnest to listen to, in my opinion. Plus, honestly, smut scenes in audiobooks is always just a little bit more awkward than just reading it, in my opinion. But other than that, I had a fun time with the story. I don't think I loved it as much as Love and Other Disasters, but still had a really great time, and glad that I was able to finish that up before my hold was due back to Libby. But that being said, let's talk a little bit about how I did during this readathon, and if it was good, if it was bad, if I want to do this ever again. So when I started this readathon, I went in with a goal, which was to complete 3 books: a physical book, an audiobook, and a Kindle book. And I did not complete that goal. I finished my physical book, I finished my audiobook, but I did not finish my Kindle book, which was the Outdrawn book. I got to page 111, 33% through that book. So I really didn't even get halfway through that book. I think after I updated you on it yesterday, I kind of put it down for the rest of the day so I could finish up my reading of the audiobook, because I really wanted to prioritize that since the Kindle book belongs to me. I bought this book, or I got it for free, but it didn't have a expiration date on it the way the audiobook did. So after I finished the audiobook this morning, I had a little bit more time to read this book, but I think it was only about 20 minutes or so. So I don't have too many new things to say on that, since I really didn't read much more since I last checked in with you. So I will go ahead and see about finishing that at some point this month. I did actually put another vlog on hold while I did this 48-hour readathon, so I'm probably not going to pick it up right away because I have some other books I need to return to, but I will definitely see about finishing that by the end of the month because I'm having a decent time with it. Again, I'm thinking it's probably like a 3.5 4-star read, but still intrigued to see how our characters' relationship will develop throughout the story and what will happen with their comic and the online competition that they're doing and all that jazz. So glad that I went ahead and picked that up and started it during this readathon. So some things that I learned. One is when doing a readathon like this, and I've heard other people say it, and I completely forgot about it when creating my TBR, is that you really should switch up genres. Unless you're someone who only reads one genre, I really think that if you do that much reading in a confined amount of space, you really need to not just be reading contemporary romance like I was, because I definitely felt like I was starting to burn out on it, and I think I would have benefited from having another genre, even if it was romance still, but at least, you know, like a fantasy romance or sci-fi romance, something along those lines would have just helped mix it up a little bit more and not feel so monotonous. I don't know if that's the right word. Another thing I learned is I don't think that I'm a marathon reader. I think I love reading, or I know I love reading, and I read every day, but I don't think that I like to read hour after hour after hour for multiple days in a row. I really am someone who needs to kind of read in between other activities, you know, reading on my breaks from work, reading in between filming videos, editing videos, going out, running errands, doing chores, hanging out with family, things like that. And I just felt like I really quickly felt myself forcing myself to read when I wanted to do other things, which obviously makes the reading experience a little bit less enjoyable, which isn't fair to me or to the book that I'm reading. So that is something I noticed as well, and makes me kind of go like, oh, I don't know if I really want to do a 48-hour readathon again. It doesn't really seem to be my preferred form of reading. I know that I have always been a slow and steady wins the race kind of girl when it comes to reading, because I've always enjoyed month-long readathons more than I have like week-long readathons, and I won't even take part in like weekend readathons. I'm like, I can finish like one book for this readathon, so it's not even worth it for me. So I've always known that I've been the kind of person who likes to track my reading over a longer period of time rather than just like a short, intense burst of reading. So you probably won't see any 48-hour readathons on this channel anytime soon, unless I want to at some point test out how I do if I choose multiple genres. But this did take a little bit of planning on my behalf, since my weekends are usually full of filming and editing and chores and errand running and hanging out with family. So it really kind of took a lot of effort to do this, and kind of inconvenience not just me but also the people I live with. So yeah, that's just something for me to keep in mind. But a quick wrap up of what we did. So first we started off by finishing the physical book, which was The Sweetest Remedy by Jane Agaro, and I ended up giving this 4 stars. This book I think was like 296 pages, so it was just under 300 pages. We then listened to the audiobook of How to Win the Girl, How to Get the Girl, the book that I continue to not know the title of. And this book, and that's by Anita Kelly, and this book I also gave 4 stars. I will say I did a pretty good job of listening to this audiobook over a couple days. My audiobook listening is definitely usually slower, so I am proud of the amount of audiobook hours I got in during this readathon. And then obviously we got the 33% through the outdrawn as well. So the audiobook ended up being a little under 11 hours, I believe, and I listened to that at 2 times speed. So I would say that was probably about 5.5 hours of listening time. And then as far as physical pages read, let me do a little bit of math in my head. 407. So I believe we read like a total of 407 physical pages, and then about 5.5 hours of audiobook listening time, which I think for a weekend is relatively good for me. My weekends usually are actually, I would say, less reading than during the week, just because I have so many things going on. So I'm definitely not upset with the outcome. I'm glad that we did this and kind of learned a little bit about our reading, and that we got a couple of books off of my TBR as well within the span of a couple of days. All right, guys, so that wraps up this 48-hour readathon. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I would love to know if you guys enjoy doing 48-hour readathons or even 24-hour readathons, and if so, what kind of tips and tricks you implement to make them successful. I would also love to know if you're the kind of person who can usually read a book in a day, because I'm definitely not. So reading The Sweetest Remedy within 1 day is definitely an abnormality for me. But that being said, guys, thank you so much for supporting my channel by watching my videos, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!